Okay, I don't have a script. All I have is a heart. And I want to make this world a more loving place in how we love ourselves and in how we love each other. And I believe in the power of love to transform this universe. I believe in the power of loving ourselves to be a foundation for loving each other in a way that makes this a more loving, safer place for each and every one of us. I believe that we each have a responsibility when it comes to loving ourselves. I believe that each of us has a responsibility when it comes to honoring our safety, listening to our boundaries, listening to our bodies and our hearts. And I want to invite the universe into reimagining what sex can look like, what love can feel like, what it is to honor our bodies with practices and rituals where we can play, where we can laugh, where we can be sex positive, we can be nude, and we don't need to hide our bodies. We don't need to pretend to be somehow different than we are in this moment. We don't need to compare or compete. We can just be. I am imagining a transformation of how we make porn, of how we practice consent, both in sexual and non-sexual contexts, where we all feel safe to express our voice, to encourage ourselves and each other to make boundaries and honor them, where we make space to say no and celebrate rejection as opposed to trying to control and do things that ultimately end up becoming barriers to loving ourselves. I have a little story I would like to share. I was getting flowers for myself, and nobody believed the flowers were for me. And there were many flowers, and I thought, oh, I'll share. And so I offered some people a flower, and this person ended up taking several flowers because they were all connected to one stem. And I didn't say anything in that moment. I let her take the entire stem with probably 5 to 7 flowers attached. And it was the only stem of flowers like that. And I was very excited about that stem. And I wish that I had said, excuse me, I offered you one flower and you've taken a lot more than that. I don't feel comfortable giving you that much. And in that moment, I let her take all of those flowers. And it was a lesson in boundaries, and that despite doing all of this work, sometimes I still catch myself letting something happen that I don't feel comfortable with. And that's a quite minor example of these types of challenges when it comes to setting boundaries and saying, no, that's not okay. You can only have one flower. And I think that could make me feel less willing to share my flowers in the future, but I don't want that experience to prevent me from sharing flowers moving forward, because I love to share flowers with the universe. I will be more cautious and intentional with how I communicate and how I respond if something is happening that feels like I'm giving too much. And that's been one of my challenges in past relationships, is giving too much and not honoring my own boundaries and letting people disrespect me in some quite harmful ways. Whew, which is not easy to talk about, but I want this to be an opportunity to practice love, to practice honoring ourselves, honoring our bodies, celebrating this moment as best as we can, practicing consent with ourselves, paying attention to what feels aligned. And I want this to be a holistic ritual where we can be sex positive, we can be nude, we can be sexy and flirty and silly and whatever feelings come up, that we can hold space for that journey. And I don't know exactly where it will take us. I don't know exactly what music might play along this journey, and to see what feelings might come up, because I find music and emotions to be quite connected to one another, and we can do whatever we want as long as we honor ourselves. How does that sound? Okay, cool. Here we go.